The riding action of Stephen Baster winning the first on Emirates Stakes Day aboard Rocky's Pal, and Gary Willits off to another fly. That was the one he named on top on looks. And the Happy Connections are about to head down to the mounting yard for the presentation, and they have picked up for winning $32,500 and a trophy valued at $1,000. So well done to them, well done to Rocky's Pal and to Jim Mason and Stephen Baster. And we're about to get the correct weight signal for the first time today from Chairman of Stewards, Mr. Des Gleeson. And there it is now, correct weight after the first, brought to you by Maggi for the placing 7, 11 and 5. All importantly, the time in the first was 1:05.9, so it is 3.6 seconds outside the record. And we might have a look at the official Super Tab dividends. And here's Dan Malicki after the first.
5.50 Rocky's Pal and 2.20 the place. 11 Captain Clipper $7.30 and 5 Vanderhart $2. Quinella paid $56.20. The trifecta $762.70. The exacta, which is first and second in correct order, $118.80. Rocky's Pal, very good go. Noticed on the tote there, Tim, that this horse firmed up significantly at the business end. It seemed like there was a pretty good go on it late.
Very good go, Dan. I'm just talking to one bookmaker who got stung for $20,000 in just the last 15 seconds before they jumped. So Rocky's Pal coming down the middle of the track was the key, according to most bookmakers. They were surprised others didn't. In race 2 on the card, well, they've opened up 3 horses, Jesterella Boy, Pembleton and Zorro down the bottom, almost equal favourites. And I ran into one of the connections of Zorro, Peter Donegan. They were expecting about 8 to 1. Well, they got about 6 points shorter.
Oh dear. Oh, well, they won't be very happy, but they will if it wins. So there's Rocky's Pal after the first, and hopefully Mark Aston will be able to shortly catch up with some of the jockeys who rode in the first and just get their opinion. But Richard Freedman, with the time being 3.6 seconds outside the record, you wouldn't expect them to get anywhere near the record, that class of horse, but it's a genuine dead track.
I would think so. Only 1,100 metre race. Usually they're only a couple of seconds outside on a dead track, but Jen was alerting me there was a headwind, so that could have added to the time. Genuinely dead. I'd be looking for horses that handle the dead. We'll
certainly find out from the men who are out there, the jockeys, as soon as we possibly can, and bring you that news, because it is all important as far as looking ahead is concerned. And speaking of looking ahead, why don't we look ahead to the second race on the card? As I mentioned, this is a rather unique race because not one of these horses has ever been beaten. 4 have won, the top 4. They've won their only start, and the 2 unraced Keeper and Zorro. And Jesterella Boy and Happy Giggle have never been on affected ground. Preserve and Pembleton have won on affected ground. So it's $3.70 Jesterella Boy, $11.40 for Happy Giggle, winner up the straight here. Preserve, $6 even, won on slow going at Sandown. Pembleton, $2.60, absolutely strolled in on slow going at Canberra. Keeper, $22.30, and Zorro, as Tim said, has come up pretty short at $4.40. 26 minutes away is the second. You like Jesterella Boy, Jen?
Yes, I'm going to stick with him, Peter. He is backing up after Saturday, of course, but I liked his effort there. He got through on the inside and he went to the line well. Number 3, Preserve, I put him for second, and number 4, Pembleton for third.
Jesterella Boy for the same reasons, Rich, as Jen?
Yeah, all the same reasons. I did see Keeper running a trial down at Cranbourne recently, and he ran very well, so he might be one of big odds.
Let's see, you and I have gone for Pembleton, and I saw this horse win at Canberra, and it was hard held, won by 9 lengths.
9 lengths, Pete. I think it's the one to beat because it did handle a slow track that day as well.
That's the second race on the card, the Maribyrnong Plate, the 129th running of this famous race, and it'll start at 12:05 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, so it is round about 24 minutes away from now. We'll head to a break and be back with a presentation after the running of the first. Meantime, more from Milton. You're watching Emirates Stakes Day, live and exclusive around Australia and throughout the United States of America. The coverage coming from Network 10 here in Australia.
On the Saturday, Ron Hutchison had the offer of 2 rides, Trellius and McDougall. Both of them won. Hutchie had to make a decision after the races on the Saturday night. He chose Trellius. The trainer, Dick Roden, came to me. He said, Roy, you've got to ride in the Melbourne Cup. And I said, yes, I have, thank you, sir. I said, what on? He said, what on? I said, White Hills. He said, well, that's a 50 to 1 chance. He said, you can ride McDougall. And I said, oh, no, I wouldn't do that to Mr. Silcock. He's been very good to me. He's given me a lot of rides since I come down from Lorna. I'll stick with that. OK, I ran third at 50 to 1 and McDougall won the race.
It was the first seed that was sown in my mind that eventually probably took me into racing years later. I remember I was a little kid in 1954 coming home from school in Cairns, and the other older kids were walking along, and I wasn't interested in racing then, and someone said, who won the cup? And the answer was Rising Fast. And I thought, gee, what a great name. It's sort of kind of name that put the hairs up in the back of your neck. And anyway, the next day when we got the Courier Mail home in the evening, they had this big photo of Jack Purtell standing near the fireplace with the cup on the mantelpiece, and that always stuck in my mind. I mean, that's what I always remember about the Melbourne Cup.
Some great memories there from the trainers and jockeys and personalities. Stephen Baster will have good memories of the first. He's won it on Rocky's Pal. Let's head down for the presentation. Here is VRC committee member, Mr. Peter Barnett.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second year that Maggi have sponsored the Maggi Trophy, and the VRC is most appreciative of their support during the Cup Carnival. And what an exciting race it was to open the final day of the Carnival, with Rocky's Pal having his 7th start, coming home for a good win. And to accept the trophy on behalf of the owners, Mr. Stephen Parker.
And thank you to Mr. Peter Barnett, and well done to Stephen Parker and all of the owners of Rocky's Pal after the first, which paid $5.50 and $2.20 on Super Tab. Captain Clipper $7.30, Vanderhart $2, and the multiples here in the first, the trifecta $762.70, and the Quinella paid $56.20 on race number 1. The kids are having a great time here at Flemington, and it is family day. Well, let's head down to the mounting yard now, and I think Mark Aston might be just about ready to check out the condition of the track. Who have you got with you, Mark?
Thanks, Peter. I've got Eddie Wilkinson, who was on Lord Rialton. Eddie, what's the track like?
Yeah, I would say it's a genuine dead. It was a straight race. We all came down the outside there, so I don't know what the inside of the track's like, but where we came, it was genuine dead.
Much kickback?
Not too bad, not too bad. The track's surprisingly quite better than what I thought it would have been.
What about coming from behind? Do you think that's going to be a problem?
No, I don't think so, no. I mean, that was the pattern last on the Thursday, so no, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Well, we're hoping there'll be no more rain for the rest of the afternoon. If there isn't, do you think the track could get a little worse, though?
Well, they've had a lot of racing on it, and there's probably, they've patched up where they have raced, so they're going to kick it out through the day, so it'll probably end up a little worse.
Good on you, Eddie. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks.
Eddie Wilkinson there, Pete.
Thank you to Mark Aston, and there are those dark clouds that Mark was talking about. That it is threatening, but at this stage we may be lucky, and it might be a repetition of Thursday when the dark clouds just skirted around the racecourse. We can only hope so. Well, Australia prides itself as being one of the leading racing nations in the world, but with drugs being so much an issue in every sport these days, it's important that the authorities of racing are one step ahead.
On the morning of the Caulfield Cup, when the headlines screamed racing for all the wrong reasons, it was a reminder that drugs are the sport's worst enemy. Fortunately, such occurrences are rare, with Australian racing regarded as clean as any country in the world. One of the reasons for this is the extreme care taken in testing horses for banned substances, both pre-race and after the race. VRC veterinary surgeon John McCaffrey oversees the pre-race blood testing of 6,000 horses per year and the post-race urine swabs of 3,500 horses per year. At Flemington over Cup Week, as for every Victorian Tab race meeting throughout the year, each winner will undergo a swab, but the majority of testing happens before the race, on race mornings. John will order a blood test on at least 5 horses in each race, and in the major races, he'll test every runner.
It started in 1978 and it began in New South Wales, where there were a group of people administering tranquilisers to horses pre-race, obviously to manipulate the form of the races, and the pre-race blood testing was introduced specifically for that. So it's been going since, so it's 21 years now. Essentially, it now covers a wide variety of drugs.
With so much money at stake in racing, the biggest challenge for the analysts is keeping track of modern drugs.
Sometimes you're in front of them, sometimes you're on a par with them, and sometimes you're behind them. I can tell you the network's pretty strong, yes.
So what happens with a horse on race day? It starts with the arrival of each horse at least 2 hours before the start of their race. John has already been through the fields and chosen most favourites and a couple of horses at random.
All the analysts get is the tube with the numbers, so they don't know which horse they're testing.
On entering the course, the strapper will be handed a blue card, which signifies that horse has been chosen for a pre-race test and must report for a sample. Taking the blood is easy, less than 20 seconds.
And that's how easy it is to take a blood sample.
Once the sample has been documented, it's taken to the on-course laboratory, where analysts separate the red blood cells and the plasma, and conduct tests to make sure each horse is free of illegal substances. The testing, as with the post-race urine samples, generally fall into two areas: testing for anti-inflammatories and testing for stimulants. Once the race is run and won, the winner is taken to the swabbing stalls to provide a urine sample. In many cases, it's just a matter of whistling and the job is done. The trainer or the strapper witnesses the test and watches as the urine is divided into A and B samples. A third bottle is also packaged with the two urine samples. This contains the solution used to rinse the ladle which held the urine, so that analysts can determine if the ladle was contaminated.
Australia and New Zealand are the only countries that do it.
The three bottles are sealed and sent to the VRC laboratory where the A sample is tested. The other bottles are kept in the freezer and sent to an independent laboratory for further testing only if the A sample is positive. And while the thrill and excitement of the turf affect everyone on race day, back in the laboratory, it's strictly scientific.
Well, I mean, I've been working in this area for 16 years and I still don't know anything about racing. It's just an area of science that's quite interesting and fascinating.
Nothing much is left to chance, of course, and why would it be? Because it is a multi-million-dollar industry, one of the biggest industries in this country. Horse racing, and we're about to see the second of the horse races today, the time-honoured Maribyrnong Plate 129th running of this race, a small field of 6, but it's a very interesting race, and it was interesting to see that technique that they used to get the samples from the horses, the whistling. It obviously worked because Lexi just dashed out and he's only just got back here. Sorry about that, Lexi.
It was the right tune, Pete.
What about these two-year-olds, Jen? It's an intriguing race.
It sure is, Peter. I'm looking forward to seeing these little babies step out. We've seen a few of them, but there's a couple that we haven't as well.
We'll take a look at the runners when they come into the mounting yard. The unraced, we saw that Tim Gossage is giving us a good mention for Zorro. So in these races, it is very important to get the fluctuations down in the betting ring. So we might head back to Tim Gossage now. Tim, what can you tell us?
Oh, I can tell you that Zorro has been a big drifter, Pete, and that Pembleton has been very well backed, and thanks for catching me off guard. I've got someone with me, David Schwartz from Melbourne. I'll get back to the race in a minute. David, saw you walking through. You're moving well, considering you went for a 10K run this morning.
Yeah, a bit of a run up and down the hills, but, you know, had to rush back and get to the races. We haven't had the chance to get here all, you know, for the carnival because of training, but Saturday afternoon we should have a good day. You
do like a punt. Have you sort of marked one for the day?
Yeah, I like Go Flash Go. Later on in the day, I think it's in the big race, and I think a bit of sting out of the ground, and it'll be certainly up the front, and I think that's where you need to be.
And Melbourne Footy Club had a pretty ordinary time of it last year. How has the pre-season been just so far, and do you think you'll improve?
Yeah, it's been tough, and we're certainly, you know, getting the cobwebs out and making sure that we don't start the season as flat and as ordinary as what we did last year. So. Put all the groundwork in and hopefully we can come out firing at the start of the season.
Well, David, thanks very much for joining us and happy punting.
Thanks, Tim, and I appreciate it.
David Schwartz from the Melbourne Football Club loves a punt. Peter Donegan, and just repeating, Zorro is a big drifter in the ring. Best money is for the Canberra-trained Pembleton.
Sorry to catch you off guard there, Tim. I'm sure you were talking to David Schwartz about the respective skin folds at this time of the season.
Yes, Oaks Day.
That's all you have to say. Thanks very much, Tim. Tim Gossage in the betting ring. We'll be taking a look at these two-year-olds when they do appear in the mounting yard. But one subject I want to broach with the three wise people here is the Melbourne Cup, and there's been a lot of talk, Jen, about the interference in the Melbourne Cup, and there's even been talk that they might even reduce the field size.
Oh, I don't think they'll do that, will they?
I wouldn't think so.
No, well, it's such a tradition, really, and I think, it's a one-off Melbourne Cup there that was very, very rough. And you look at overseas races, Peter, in America and in England as well, jockeys do tend to give a lot more room over there. It's just our style of racing over here, which it has been for so long.
I think it's important that we don't have a knee-jerk reaction to one race, because we haven't seen a Melbourne Cup like that for many, many years, Rich.
Yeah, whenever you've got 24 runners and a big prize, you're looking at, some pretty desperate actions at times. But the other method of controlling them, obviously, is the relegation rule, which would relegate a winner that interfered with another horse to last place, or indeed any other place getter to last place, a disqualification rule. And I don't really support that either.
It's not fair on owners,
well,
is it?
It penalises the owners, the punters and everybody else, except including the jockey, and possibly it's only the jockey that should be penalised.
Just under 2 hours and 50 minutes to the big one. Let's see, you've ridden in Melbourne Cups before in big fields of 24. When we see the action that we saw the other day with Rogan Josh getting through here, and you can see the riderless horse Able Master out the back, is 24 too many, or is that manageable?
I think it's manageable, Pete. So you've got a 900-metre run to the first corner. Really, there's not necessary to cause interference, but everyone wants to get a good position. But you notice a lot of horses from the outside gates win Melbourne Cups because the jockeys are more relaxed. They go out there and the horse just runs. Johnny Marshall, well, I suppose he'd be nearly singing to himself going past the winning post the first time. He's one off the fence and travelling beautiful, and he's the one horse in the race, really, except for the second horse, that had relaxed, and they were both let stride along.
I think that what was clear there is the one horse that they were all complaining about mostly was the interference caused to the hind in the last 100 metres, and the hind and the European horse Travel Mate both went for the same run at the same time, and it was just one of those things. It really wasn't foul riding of any sort. All
right, that was the Melbourne Cup for the experienced horses. Here come the babies. They're in the mounting yard for race 2, the Maribyrnong Plate, and let's have a look at them. Jesterella Boy, impressive here in winning on Tuesday, Jen.
Yes, I liked his win there, and I thought it was a terrific ride there too by Brett Preble. He didn't have a great deal of room on the inside, but he pushed through, and it looked like a pretty mature effort by this young horse. He's backing up again. I think he's a chance.
Happy Giggle came down the outside rail when he won here, and that was back in October. Probably a little harder here, Rich.
Well, it is, and it's 100 metres further, and Happy Giggle won at the 900 metres, now up to the 1,000 metres. By Rory's Jester, though, gets a lot of good early 2-year-old runners, and trained by Jim Mason, who's already won a race today, so he'd be there with a chance.
Let's see, we'll probably think that this horse Preserve will handle the ground, having won on the slow at Sandown.
Yes, Pete, and out of a vein mare, gee, this should be able to run pretty quickly, this horse, and it proved it at Sandown.
Yeah, beautifully bred, being by Canny Lad.
She did a great job there, Peter. She was 5 wide, no cover the whole way, and really fought on well.
What about Pembleton, Jen? So impressive at Canberra. It's a big step up here, but he had 2 monkey grips on it going across the line. He couldn't have been holding it any harder, and it won by 9.
Yeah, I suppose you've just got to ask, what was the opposition like? There was only 5 other runners in that race, but I agree with you. It was a terrific performance there. Jumped and ran, and never let up, so must be rated a chance all the same.
Good type of animal. He looks very impressive in the mounting yard. Now these first starters, number 5 Keeper, Greg Hall is the rider, Graham Rogerson trains, is by the all-conquering Dane Hill, trained on the track. Rich, that's important.
Yes, it is, because he's probably had some experience up the straight. I went down to Cranbourne for the trials on the 18th of October and saw this horse win a trial in the fastest time for the 2-year-olds. Quite an impressive horse in the Lloyd Williams colours there of mahogany and other great horses. Greg Hall on the saddle, drawn the 1 alley. Yeah, I think it's a good outside chance.
And the other first starter is number 6, Zorro, which is also trained here on the track by Peter Hayes, to be ridden by Greg Childs, and this is by the all-conquering Zetative. What a mighty sprinter he was, Letty.
He was, and when the Hayes team come over here without racing in Adelaide first, Pete, they're very hard to beat. But why isn't Zorro wearing blinkers?
Why isn't Zorro
Zorro wears a mask.
That's very good, John. You even just managed to get over us there.
Yes, see, I thought I'd get you once today.
We're going to ponder that, Dan, and you can take us through the tote figures.
Very good. He's been talking to Peter Hayes about nominating that horse for 2 months now. He's kept it under his hat. The favourite is Pembleton. I don't think I've ever seen a more impressive-looking individual than this 2-year-old. He's one of the finest-looking athletic thoroughbreds I've ever seen. What a picture. And he's the favourite. We know why. 390 Jesterella Boy, 570 Preserve, a small field, but a lot tipped about these horses. Between them, they've had 4 starts for 4 wins. That's an impressive record. But it's Pembleton, the horse from Canberra, who won its only start by 9 lengths, is the favourite. And after having one look at him, it is no wonder why, Pete.
He is a lovely-looking individual, Dan. Yes, just looking at him on the monitor here in the studio, he did look fantastic. There is the map, 1,000 metres for the Maribyrnong Plate, and they will fly here. This is only a very small field of 6, but it's an intriguing race. We've come up with a couple of selections. Jester Ella Boy from Jen, Richard, Dan and Gary. Pembleton from Letzi and myself. We'll be back to see what happens when we return to Flemington for the Maribyrnong Plate, the 129th running after this break, live around Australia on Network 10. Jumping Castle is here for the kids, and so are many other things today. And, well, I was going to say they're enjoying themselves, but I don't think the one on the left was.
Lindsay and I get down there later.
Yeah. Hey, was that brotherly love or what?
I'll tell you what, it was a good ride cross. Oh, dear. But there's plenty of things for the kids to do here, and it's a wonderful family day, and we're looking forward to seeing some of the younger racegoers out here at Flemington today, perhaps for the first time. As I said the other day, I noticed my little nephew Matthew in the crowd watching his first Melbourne Cup, and he backed a few winners on Tuesday, I know, and he can't wait to come back to the races, and that's terrific. That's what we need to do, get people, the younger people, back to the races.
Well, they do it so well here, don't they, Peter, because they've got all that entertainment for the kids and the families. It's fantastic.
And the racing clubs are certainly making a big effort to do that, Rich, because there was a bit of a lost generation there for a while.
There was, and Australia has such a massive tradition in horse racing and in other equestrian sports. You only have to look at our 3-day event team winning at the last 2 Olympics, and it's a shame that the urbanisation of Australia is taking away a lot of these horse skills, and if we can get people interested in it again, we can get back up on top of the pile again.
Let's see a message from our executive producer.
Yes?
Nick off. Because we want you to do the 3rd race, so we'll let you go now and get acquainted with Banjo, and look forward to having you out on the track there.
Have a good one, you guys.
Johnny Letts. He'll be out with Banjo, dual Melbourne Cup winning jockey, having tasted success aboard Piping Lane in 1972 and Belldale Ball in 1980. Well, they're filling the stalls here, and there is that fellow who has so impressed Dan Malicki. Did he impress you too, Gary?
He certainly did, Peter. He looks magnificent. He looks like a 3-year-old. He's by marauding. I remember him winning the Golden Slipper, ridden by Ronnie Quinton. But I also liked the 6. I thought it looked very well, Zorro. And the 3, Preserve. So I marked them 4, 6 and 3. But be interesting to see just how quick he can go, this horse.
Pembleton's in, Jester Ella Boy links up, David Hall, Brett Preble. Can they register another winner? Certainly been their week. Set to go for the Maribyrnong Plate Group 2. Away in racing, Pembleton a little bit awkward to get out of the gates. Jester Ella Boy jumped well with Happy Giggle. Now at this stage, they are going straight up the middle, perhaps drifting slightly towards the outside, and there's virtually a line of 6. You've probably got Happy Giggle just in front of Jester Ella Boy, and Pembleton's up there in the middle in the yellow cap. Just in behind them, Zorro, but he wants to hang in a little bit on top of Preserve. And in the white cap furthest back towards the centre of the track was Keeper. Onto the course proper they head. Pembleton has joined Happy Giggle now. Jester Ella Boy's about a length behind them. Zorro's under pressure. Preserve still there, and then came Keeper. Down to the 400. It's Happy Giggle and Pembleton together. 2 lengths to Jester Ella Boy, and then came Preserve. Pembleton's rider Cassidy goes for the whip. That's Larry Cassidy. Happy Giggle just in front of Pembleton. 2 lengths away Preserve. It's Happy Giggle in front of Pembleton with 100 to go. Happy Giggle's drifted across the heels of Pembleton, but it's 2 lengths clear. Preserve battling on. Happy Giggle's going strongly, and it's going to win it. Happy Giggle first. Could go the minor placing. Second goes Preserve. Third in was Pembleton, and then came Keeper. Zorro and Jester Ella Boy last in.
Happy Giggle, well, it's got the right jockey on, Stephen Baster, because he's always got a big smile when he rides a winner.
No wonder, that's a double. 2 races so far, both trained by Jim Mason, both ridden by Stephen Baster.
Yes, and Preserve by G, it got home very well the last little bit. It's got very close at the finish, but Happy Giggle did a very good job. I was disappointed with Pembleton. He was under pressure a good 200 metres out and dropped off, and the other 2 have got right away on the finish.
2, 3, 4 are official.
Now here they are here, that it's Happy Giggle on the inside with the circle round. Pembleton's just on his outside, and he's just starting to feel the pinch here. You can see his head's gone on the side, and he gets his head up a bit and he drops off.
Does run in a way from Pembleton here, seems to go across his heels, but at the same time, he wasn't 2 lengths in front of him, but he did come across him, as you can see there.
Yes, but I think he dropped right off, and Preserve and the Cerise Colours is the one that gets home.
Here's Mark Aston.
Yes, thank you very much, Dan. Jim Mason, 2 for 2. You can't get much better than that.
No, it's yeah, a good way to end the last day of the carnival.
Gee, he was very impressive at Flemington and again today.
Yeah, look, I thought he was well above his right quota on his first up win. You know, it was like he ran 33 1/4 his last 600. He's a very smart horse, and you know, I mean, this race today was if he could win the day, because it's always leading the Magic Million. So now after winning it, we'll go that way. You know?
And magnificently bred for speed.
Well, when we bought the horse, I mean, you were guaranteed an early runner, and that's exactly what he's done.
And not bad for the fella on top either, 2 for 2.
Well, you know, Steve's really good for me because he tries 100% for me, and you can't ask for any more than that.
Good on you, mate. Good start to the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Back to you, Pete.
Jim Mason, 2 out of 2, and well done to Stephen Baster, also 2 out of 2. We spoke to him after the Foster's Melbourne Cup the other day. He didn't have much luck on that little mare, Lay Beal, and he'll come back smiling. And why wouldn't he? Because he's riding a horse called Happy Giggle. It was a very good performance. Preserve second, running on very strongly. Pembleton third. Jen and Rich, I'll bring you in here. I don't know whether that horse Pembleton handled the ground, Rich. He seemed to get his head up in the last 300 metres or so.
He raced like a drunken sailor up the straight. He was all over the place, but big, long striding horse, flat striding horse like him, you'd expect him to like the firm ground. The little Rory's Jester in front there, the Chestnut, well, they skip through that ground, and they are very good early 2-year-olds, and Preserve running on nicely out the wide, and Zorro wasn't a bad run. I suppose the other runner, Jesterella Boy, was a little disappointing today, but he may have just been a bit flat after his last win.
And I don't think he handled it too well either, just looking at his galloping action. But, Jen, it was interesting to notice Pembleton, the number of strides he was taking compared to the other horses. He's got a big loping gait, hasn't he?
Has he ever? He made the winner look like a Shetland pony there, didn't he? He's a huge horse.
Well, it doesn't matter. Sometimes they say size is important, but in this case it wasn't, because the little ones won. Happy Giggle. Numbers there are 2, 3 and 4. Happy Giggle, Preserve, Pembleton. Great start for Jim Mason and Stephen Baster. We'll head to a break now after the running of the Maribyrnong Plate and rejoin you with the correct weight signal and the dividends. Some very happy connections, Happy Giggle, and that's what they'll be doing after their little 2-year-old colt has won here at Flemington on Emirates Stakes Day, the final day of the Melbourne Cup Carnival. And Happy Giggle has defeated Preserve and Pembleton 2, 3 and 4. Weight about to be found correct. Correct weight? And indeed it is. So weight is right. Brought to you by Magic. 2, 3 and 4. There is Happy Giggle. And here are the dividends with Dan Malicki after the second.
$9.20 the win, $3.60 the place for Happy Giggle. Second, number 3, Preserve, $2.20. There was no third dividend for number 4. The Quinella paid $15.40, Exacta $39.50, Trifecta $110.40, and the race-to-race double paid $58.70 for the Jim Mason Stephen Baster combination. Some respite there for the bookmakers, Tim Gossage.
Much so. They put plenty on Pembleton, Dan, but they left it in the bags with Happy Giggle, one of the unwanted candidates in the race, getting the money. The next race, well, they're not too sure, the punters, about what they're making favour. The bookmakers, likewise, are a bit slow in framing their markets. One man who's for his second time at the track, the racetrack that is, not the motor racing track where we normally find him, is the Valvoline Cummins Holden Racing Team and Jason Barguana. Jason, you're back here again. I thought Cup Day was enough.
Well, I had a win on Cup Day, so I'm back. I reckon this is great out here. No, it's good.
I mean, not as crowded today. I mean, do you like the horses?
Oh, it's good fun. I like the spectacle of it all, and everyone's dressed up, and it's really, the atmosphere is great, and hey, I'm having a ball, so it's really good.
I'm going to get your tip for the Emirates Stakes in a moment. Whereabouts do we find you? We can find you now in the betting ring, but where do you spend the day at the races here on Stakes Day?
Well, on Cup Day, I sort of mingled around in the middle of the track and then out with all the, out in this area, out this side. So today I'm going to go back in the middle of the track again and try and watch from there. But yeah, I don't know. I reckon there's a lot of young ladies around here. I might go chasing them.
I suppose there's more ladies here than will be at Bathurst next Sunday, but that is what it's all about. You head up there early next week.
Yeah, I mean, we head up on Tuesday and we're on the track on Thursday, and we're all very excited about it. I mean, the Valvoline Cummins team's been working extremely hard. The guys have been working overtime to make the car fast, and hey, I reckon we can win it. I'm hopeful we can, and third last year, and hopefully we can do better this year.
You're finally